Patriarchal politics is like a boot on a woman's neck. Afro-feminism is the woman identifying the boot. Conservatives insist there was nothing wrong with the boot being on the neck until women started talking about it. If she kept quiet, there wouldn't be a problem. The male allies think there's a way to talk about the boot that appeals to everyone and doesn't alienate those that will help remove it. The good guys insist that not all men wear the boot. Women with internalized misogyny insist that they have the boot on their necks by choice. They insist that something's wrong with women complaining about the boot. My name is Murunwa Mutele, a 20-year-old gender equality activist and chemical engineering student from Pretoria, South Africa. It is unfortunate that in Africa there is a different and set perception as to how and where African women should be and what they should be doing. I remember in 2009 how my dreams to be in politics was almost crushed. I was a 4th grader in a social science period when I bravely asked my teacher why there wasn't enough female participation in African politics. My then social science teacher, who had a proud face when he answered me, said, "Politics aren't for women. Politics are a man's job. Women have their own roles and specific duties, and politics is just not one of them." At that time, I knew there was something wrong with his answer. But I wasn't ready to challenge a teacher who believed and thought he knew what he was saying. So it was until high school where I started Googling or searching for ways or reasons why there weren't African women in politics. One answer that kept resonating was patriarchy. Like in most African households or workspaces, patriarchy in politics denies women the right to see themselves as equals. It denies women the right to lead and make decisions like their male counterparts. I, for one, wanted to know how a young African woman like me can help end patriarchy in politics. So I found Afro-Feminism. Finding Afro-Feminism to me was therefore an eye-opener. And not because I was familiar with the word Afro and feminism, but because finally there was a name for a group of people who, like me, are aware of the gender inequalities between men and women, especially in African politics. To me, being a young African woman who identifies as Afro-feminist is not only important, but crucial, especially in a continent where women have always been preferred to be happy and not angry. Well, let me tell you something. The absence of my anger is a blessing that shouldn't be celebrated. I feel that angry is what you and I should be in the face of social and political injustice. My Afro-feminism, for one, is in connections with my daily engagements as a daughter, sister, and a friend, or as a gender equality activist, and plethora to the roles I play. It is lodged solidly into my vision of a just and equitable society that equally values the right of men and women, or the right of women who are and who want to be in politics as it does those of men. It is well sourced from my evolution from 4th grade to this stage of womanhood, against a backdrop-dominant cultural narrative that has always preferred African women who are accepting, submissive, or easy. A society that has shunned and shamed African women who challenged and questioned, or even went to seek equality in politics. This year, Africa hosted around 12 general elections, and the main candidates running for the presidential seat were men. I, for one, hoped to see political inroads. But still, with less female faces on the ballot, I've realized that our potential as African women to be in politics remains largely untapped. it is easy for one to see the inequalities in African politics. And this, I assure you, can be seen through the trade agreement that happened in Rwanda, Kigali. One of the most historic trade deals was signed by all 54 male head of states of Africa. Yes, I said it, 54 male head of states. None was a woman. Imagine, let that sink in. 54 states, male, old male. Now this shows, the picture which circulated around media after the trade deal showed exactly how African politics looks like. Though it is undeniable how women have been in politics, from the early Miss Ellen Johnson to the most recent Miss Sahle-Work of Ethiopia. These women have paved ways for women like me who want to be in politics. And together with these fierce females, our role as Afro-feminists to saving or liberating the future of African politics in a continent where accountability is rare right from the presidency can be extremely difficult, especially challenging patriarchal leaders leading equally patriarchal institutions. You heard that right. Patriarchal institutions exist. So let me tell you something. Our evolution as African women to be in African politics is not a battle of fine phrases. Patriarchal leaders with political power have done that over the years, claiming to care of our issues as women in meetings where the guests and the audience were men. Yes, men who practice patriarchy. For me, being a young African woman who identifies as Afro-feminist, belonging to an Afro-feminist movement, my role is to pay attention to gender inequality. And that is what has been missing in African politics. Someone or a group of people who can pay attention to these inequalities and make a move. Women in politics demand safer spaces for women in workspaces, society, even homes. That has been missing. Women have been dying in their own homes. One reason is patriarchy. Patriarchal leaders have been in power for over 6 decades. You know what all they did? Have roads, hospitals, and asphyxiated their faces on national currencies. All this happening while Africa is being named or identified as the poorest inhabited continent. All happening because of corruption and greed. Now, as women, we don't need our faces on national currencies, or have roads named against us, or even have hospitals in our names. As African women, we need positions of political power, because we know that women in political spaces can implement better developed ideas. So as I stand here, a young Afro-feminist, 20-year-old Afro-feminist, you might wonder what is my role in this patriarchy, or how did I even come about to be an Afro-feminist? It was that one teacher, that social science teacher that told me straight to my face that I cannot be in politics because of my gender. I am here to break boundaries. I am here to tell you and to challenge you that you can either be an Afro-feminist or not. You can either join us in helping or removing the boot off the woman's neck. Women don't need more oppression, especially from African people. We need people who can help us end this gender inequality in politics. And in closing, I would love to remind you that ours is a society that still lacks a fundamental understanding of of the positive effects of women in politics. Thank you.